What's up, friends? Today I wanted to talk to you guys about something that you don't even need right now. I'm talking about live shows. Due to COVID, there's still no live shows at all, and I'm missing it a lot. But I thought, what better to do during that time to prepare for a time after COVID and prepare your live show. It is something that is quite difficult as an electronic musician, I think, because you have a lot of options and it's just pretty hard to decide on what you want to do. It's been a very, very long road for me to figure out exactly what kind of live show I want and what type of live set I want to prepare in Ableton. But I thought to myself that it would be great to show you guys some of the things I've learned on the way, give you some tips for your own live set, and maybe it will inspire you for your own show. Today I'm gonna show you my older live set. I'm not going to show you my newest one because I'm still working on that one. This is the live set from 2019, actually, before COVID. I played this set at Zurich Open Air, which looked like this. And it worked great, so I think that's a great set to go through with you guys and show you some of the techniques. I also have to say something about live sets in general for electronic musicians. You have to determine from the beginning how much you want to do live and how much you want to be pre-made or automatically play, because you only have two hands if you're alone and if you're not a group, so you're not able to play every single instrument at the same time. And also maybe you can't play an instrument, like me, you're not a trained pianist or a trained guitarist, so you have to find a way to perform live without just being a DJ with your Pioneer deck, but still be able to comfortably perform a live set, even if you're not a trained pianist. So yeah, I've thought about some ways on how to achieve that, and I will show them to you today. Let's get into the set. Okay, so here we are. I have to say something as well, that in this live show I still do very little. I only do one thing at a time, or maximum two. And that's because I still was starting out at that time, performing live. I was nervous enough just standing on the stage, so I didn't have time to also be nervous about all the instruments I have to play. But that's just something that you have to find out yourself. How much are you comfortable playing live, and how much are you comfortable playing while still having fun on the stage, which is also something important. If you're always just struggling to keep up with the song, you're not having that much fun. So that's something that you have to figure out for yourself. I just wanted to show you my setup so you could maybe copy some of the things and work out some of your own techniques for your live show. Okay, so let's get into it. First off, let's have a quick look at the MIDI tools that I used to perform live. During that period, I just had one controller, which is this Akai MPD232, and I had a MIDI keyboard. It wasn't this one, it was a Minilog, I think, but it doesn't matter. It just was a MIDI keyboard with some knobs at the top and some keys. That was basically it. At the time I also had older projects and older live shows where I had even more MIDI controllers. I had like a drum pad as well, but I got rid of that, and that's what I ended up with at that time. You have to figure out yourself which MIDI controllers you like and which one you want to have on stage. You can have 7 or 6 on the stage. It just has to feel right for you, and the workflow has to be good. That's all that matters. You can also just work with one MIDI controller. You can do so much in Ableton Live. You don't need a lot of MIDI controllers on stage, but that's just something that's up to your imagination and up to you on what you like to play. So that's my setup for that time period, and let's get into the Ableton set. So let's quickly go through all of the different sequences. Don't get overwhelmed by all the different colors you see. I will explain most of it in this tutorial. First off, you have a master right here. I think if you are still very, very new to Ableton, this tutorial will be a bit too complicated for you, so I think it's better if you already know something about Ableton. I can't explain how all the sequences work and how the session grid works. You have to maybe watch a tutorial for beginners first if you don't know that stuff. So this is a bit more advanced, but I'll just quickly go through my whole setup. Here on the master you have all the songs written with the BPM of the song. If you don't know, if you write in the name, this knob will turn orange, and the tempo will automatically set at the beginning of the song, as you can see. If right now it's at 117 because of sloth, and now if I go one deeper, it will automatically switch the tempo. That's something very useful for live shows. So let's get into the sequences. You have launch. Launch is something that I will explain afterwards, but this basically can be done way simpler in the new Ableton. But back then I had to do it this way. This is just to automatically launch the next song once a song is finished. But there are simpler ways to do this, but I will show it afterwards. Lights is also something that I don't want to go into. Basically, it's just the MIDI notes for the lights that I programmed on stage. I used DMXs for this one. This is also the box that I used. DMXs is a great program to program simple light shows with simple LED lights. If you have complicated stage setups, you're gonna be not happy with this. But if it's just a simple, if it's like free light LED strips or something like this, this can do great things. As you can see in this picture, this is all done with this little guy. So yeah, this launches the light automatically with the songs. Video is also just a MIDI send for my other laptop that I had connected, where I played the background visuals on the beamer, but that's something I won't explain in this tutorial. In-ear is pretty self-explanatory. Here I have a click and sometimes a count in, like 1, 2, 3, go. In parts of the song where I don't have a beat, but I have to play in the beat, so everything sounds great. So what I do is I have a click on my in-ear, which is just my headphones, which the people in front of the stage don't hear, and I can play in time. All I have to do here is I have my voice. This is in Swiss German, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I have a wood block. And this is just not sent to the master, it's sent to external out 3 and 4, which is my headphones out, which depends on your type of audio interface that you use. And yeah, this is just pre-programmed to the song. I have 2 backing tracks, and the backing tracks are basically the main part of the song, which I don't play live. In this live show I had a lot of my music pre-prepared, and a lot of the live shows songs pre-prepared, and I just bounced everything that I'm not able to play live into the backing, and the backing is these 2 lines. There's a reason that I have 2 and not just 1. That's because if I want one track to fade out with reverb, and I don't want the second track that is following to have reverb, that's why I split those in between. But you can also have one and just use a send, which is also possible, but I didn't use sends that much back in that day that I made this live set. So yeah, this is basically just backing tracks. This is basically just backing tracks where all the parts of the song are in that I don't play live, that are played automatically. So here we'll probably get back to those as well in a later part of the tutorial. So here we have chord Minilog. Yes, exactly. This is just replaced now with my complete, but I have a piano setup, which just takes the MIDI just from this channel. So if I play something on my MPD, which is on channel 2, I don't play those notes. I don't play those notes as well. These 2 are basically my instrument lines, and what they do is on both of them I have an instrument rack with different instruments from every song with a chain assigned to it. So if you click on chain, if you have an instrument rack and you click on chain, you have those blue bars, and you if you have a lead, for example, you have from the first track. And you just want this instrument on the first song, you have this chain selector, and you can set this one to 0, for example, and the next one to 1. And then if I start the song, I have this clip that it plays automatically, which is just one length, and it's very short, but it's you don't need it to be on loop. And this is quite crowded, but you go to instrument rack and you go to chain selector. As you can see, it's on 0, so it will automatically select instrument number 0. If I have this thing on 17, you will hear that it will no longer play. And if I change the chain selector to a number 17, at the beginning of the song, it will immediately play when I start the song. And as you can hear, I can now play the selected synthesizer that I want for song number 1. I hope this wasn't too confusing, but that's just a basic, simple way how chain selectors work. If you're still pretty confused about it, you maybe need to watch a specific tutorial just for chain selectors. But it's very, very basic. You can move this blue part around and select on which number you want the instrument to be. And then, if you need a new instrument, you can just drag and drop it here, and you can add a new song with new instruments. So if I, for example, now play Tell Me, the Korg Minilog and the MP3 will automatically select the instruments that I have for Tell Me, which will automatically fit the song. So if I play Tell Me, the piano of Tell Me is automatically selected and is good to go. So that's the basic way how my live show works, and I have all these synthesizers for the specific song, and I have some effects. I don't know where the other effects are. It's pretty old set, so I can't remember where they are. I guess they're not assigned, but you can load different effects for your sound on this on your MIDI controller, on whatever MIDI controller you have. That's a basic way to do a live show. One part that is important is I have pre-made transitions between the songs. Those are made in the specific song files. So if it's pretty hard to show, but so what I did is, if I said I wanted to have a transition from Sloth to Tell Me, for example, I would go into the song file of Sloth, take some parts of Tell Me into the song file of Sloth, and pre-build the transition into Tell Me, and then stem that thing out and put it into here. There's a couple of ways on how you can make this work. I am not saying there's one right way or one wrong way. This way of doing it is, as I would say now, not the best way, because you lose a lot of flexibility. Because if I want to change a song during live set, so I'm playing a lot of house tracks, and I see that people are interacting a lot with house tracks but are not loving the breakbeat tracks, there's no way for me to spontaneously change the live set playlist. So that's something that is very negative about this type of doing it. But what the positive side about it is that you have great transitions, and it's pretty hard to achieve great transitions by just playing live. But I would urge you to just learn to play great transitions live, because that way you don't lose flexibility on your live set, and you can also make your set longer or cut it short, or play in some very different and older tracks and newer tracks. That's just one thing that I would urge you to do, just to figure out how you can play transitions live. But I'm still figuring out a great way to do this in Ableton. So if you have a great way, let me know, and I just think just go and try it yourself on how to do this perfectly. Yeah, another part about this is sidechaining, which is just a neat trick to have if you want those instruments that you play live to be sidechained to the song. What I did is I put a volume shaper. You can use any tool that you want, but that's my go-to sidechaining tool. You put this one on the whole section of all your instruments, and you put a MIDI track right next to it and assign the MIDI to the Korg Minilogue track, and you select volume shaper 4, which is right at the bottom, and you go into volume shaper 4 and you select beat one shot, and that way you can just copy the kick of a song, export the MIDI of it and put it into here, and you will have a automatic sidechaining for the whole song. And if there's no kick, there will be no sidechaining, so you can play your instrument freely. And I did this for both instruments. Yeah, I think that's already most of it. I think it's just a matter of finding out how much you're ready to play yourself and how much you want to automate. You have huge possibilities to automate everything yourself, but it's not always the best, because if you're always just rushing to get everything done and play everything perfectly, maybe you will also lose your connection to the crowd, and you're not able to enjoy the moment, which are things that are very, very important. So let's quickly address the last part that I wanted to show you guys, which is the launch section that I talked about in the beginning, which is a automatic way to play the next song. I'll just quickly redo this from scratch so you guys know what I'm talking about. So a basic way to do it is make a MIDI track. You have to arm it always, otherwise it doesn't work. You take MIDI from all channels and you go to your MIDI options. You have to open this tab. I will delete the current one because otherwise it doesn't work. You have to click on this play button right here, and now what you want to do is maybe, for example, go to your keyboard, select all the octaves, go all the way down your octaves, and press the lowest note on your keyboard that you have. If I do this, I have note C2. Now note C2 is assigned to playing the next clip. You won't have the problem of ever hitting note C2 by accident, because it's like 4 octaves down and no song uses this. But just make sure that you don't have any song files where this note is used otherwise, because then it will have complications. So now if I go to play recite and I play the lowest note, you see it automatically switches to the next track. So now if I don't want to be pressing this note during the live show in the right moment, one part that is very important as well that you have to make sure of is you have installed your AIC driver. The way you do this is you go to Audio MIDI Setup and you go to Window, Show MIDI Studio. And right here you would find somewhere on your table you will find a IAC driver. You can double click on this, and you need to have your device as online. You need to click this if it's not already clicked, and you can keep this the way it is. And that's basically all you have to do to enable your IAC driver. And what you have to do afterwards is go to Preferences. In Ableton, go to Link MIDI and enable the track and remote both on input and output of your IAC driver. That's all you have to do. So now if you have the MIDI right here, you go to backing, you look at the length, 115, whatever the length is, we'll just make 4 as an example. You go all the way down to the lowest note. You select MIDI to IAC driver, this is important, and as you will hear, it will automatically play the next track. And that's basically how you do it. It's pretty simple. You can do it a couple of different ways, but this is one way that I thought was very easy to do and did the job well. Yeah. That's basically all of the basic tricks that I have regarding my live set. So yeah, I hope you find out some new tricks that you can use for your own live set. as I said a couple of times before, you really have to figure out what is best for yourself. Try out all the different types of MIDI controls that you can have. Try to figure out Ableton, what are the technical possibilities that Ableton gives you, and most of all, try to find a good bridge between having a great live show, pleasing the crowd, having an interesting interaction with the crowd, but not overdoing it by playing 100 instruments at the same time and losing sight of great music and great transitions. You just have to find a good balance between all of those things. For me, I've learned that it doesn't really matter that much. You don't have to feel ashamed if you don't play a ton of things live at the beginning. I think that's just something that is normal if you're not a great instrumentalist. I'm also working on it. I'm getting better at it. I play more instruments in my newer live shows than in my older ones, but I think the best thing about playing live is just getting out there, playing your music, just having fun, and also practicing standing in front of people and performing your music live. Because I can tell you, if you've never performed live and you've never performed your own music live, it is something that is very scary in the beginning, but it's very, very helpful in the future, because you get a way more direct feedback from the crowd about your music than you get online. So I think playing live is the best treat that you can have as a musician, because you see the joy in people's eyes and you see people dancing, and I think that's something that you have to strive for. So yeah, if you haven't already, get out there, try to play new shows, use this time during COVID where there are no live shows at all to prepare your live set, and just play your music out there. This is the best way you can get to people, is by playing it live and just making it a great show. Yeah, guys, stay at it, have a great time, and stay healthy and safe, and yeah, see you next time.